Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Sometimes when you really dig into a bunch of information, what you find can be, well, surprising, maybe even a bit unsettling.
Definitely.
And that's exactly what we're doing today.
Yeah.
This deep dive, it's based on some fascinating, sometimes pretty intense source material.
It really covers a lot of ground.
Yeah, everything from like high-level geopolitical theories and alleged power structures,
Mm-hmm.
all the way to accounts of extreme weather and some really peculiar health things happening.
A real mix.
So our mission here is to unpack all these different threads, pull out the key insights, and, ask what it might all mean for you listening and how we sort of understand the world.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Let's get into it.
Okay, so the source kicks off with a pretty bold claim right at the start.
Oh, yeah.
It takes us back to the Council on Foreign Relations, Washington, D.C., 1940.
Okay, wartime.
Exactly. And the claim is they decided Hitler was going to lose the war and that they needed to start prepping for what the source calls the next American empire.
An American empire. That's strong language.
It is. And this alleged empire was supposed to include the UK, all of North America, New Zealand, Australia,
Wow.
and a big chunk of the Southeast Pacific Rim.
So based on the source, this wasn't just predicting the war's outcome, it was laying groundwork.
That's the idea presented, yeah. A long-term strategy.
And does the source say how this initial plan connected with other groups later on?
It does. It suggests this effort linked up with other powerful organizations over time.
Like a...
Well, it points to the Bilderbergers,
Mhm.
described as, a very secretive, powerful, post-war European group.
Okay, I've heard of them.
And then the Trilateral Commission, which apparently formed after Japan's economy really took off.
Right.
And these three, the CFR, Bilderbergers Trilateral Commission, the source, calls them the Three Sisters.
The Three Sisters.
Yeah, and the root of what I now call Cabal.
Okay, Cabal. So when the source uses that term, what exactly does it mean? Who's supposedly in this cabal?
Well, the source lists quite a few entities. It claims it includes the banking cartel,
Mm-hmm.
the oil cartel, big transnational corporations,
Okay.
and various intelligence agencies. It actually names the CIA, FBI, NSA.
The big U.S. ones.
Right. And also MI6 from the UK and MSAD, that's Mossad, from Israel.
Quite a lineup.
And it adds a huge slice of the American military.
So this whole group, this cabal, what does the source claim its influence is?
Well, the assertion is pretty stark. It claims this group has effectively been running the United States for the last 50 years.
Running the country. Huh?
It says presidents have been little more than talking heads,
Wow.
and that Congress hasn't had a clue as to what was going on.
So the traditional government structure is just a front, according to this.
That's the picture it paints, yeah. Real power lying elsewhere, completely hidden from the public.
That's quite a claim.
Oh.
Okay, then the source brings up Operation Paperclip
Right, after World War II. President Truman approved it.
to bring Nazi scientists to the U.S.
Yeah.
for the Cold War effort.
Exactly. But Truman apparently set a condition. No active Nazi Party members.
Okay.
But the source claims the armed forces, the Army in particular, just paid no attention to the president.
Really? They just ignored the order.
That's the claim. They supposedly recruited the scientists they wanted anyway, gave them new names, new histories,
Wow.
and high banking jobs in military and civilian places, put them to work on missiles, new weapons systems.
Does the source connect this disregard for Truman's order back to that cabal idea?
The implication is definitely there, yeah.
Yeah.
That these forces were already operating outside normal controls.
Hmm.
And then the source links this to something else pretty major.
Uh-huh.
The alleged UFO crashes at Roswell.
Roswell. July 4th, 1947.
That's the one. The source says one craft was recovered, intact enough to be back engineered,
And this operation moved.
eventually to Nevada, yeah. And here's where Eisenhower comes in.
President Eisenhower.
Right. He apparently wanted to know what was going on. The source says he threatened to send in the First Army to find out.
He threatened military action against part of his own government.
According to this account, yes. And they supposedly caved.
Caved. How?
They allowed 4 CIA members, trusted by Eisenhower, to visit the site and see the back engineering work.
Just 4 people.
Just 4. And the source makes a point of saying that since Truman, no president has been in the loop totally.
Which leads us back to Eisenhower's famous farewell speech.
Exactly. His warning to beware of the military-industrial complex.
But the source adds another layer to that.
It does. It includes what it calls an eyewitness account,
Okay.
claiming Eisenhower wasn't just worried about the complex itself, but
Yeah.
was really concerned that the ET file had fallen into the wrong hands.
The ET file, meaning the Roswell stuff.
Presumably, and that this was the real beginning of the cover-up. It puts a very different spin on his warning.
So, pulling these threads from the source together, this alleged cabal, Operation Paperclip, Roswell, Eisenhower's concerns, what's the end game? What's the ultimate goal supposed to be?
The source states it clearly: a world
A
government.
world government.
One they call the New World Order. And crucially, it's described as unelected and accountable only to them.
So how do they plan to achieve that?
Right.
Military takeover.
No, the source says not like Hitler, not through direct military conquest.
Now how?
It claims the strategy is to use brains and the monetary
The
system.
monetary system.
Yeah, to crush the various countries financially,
Yeah.
to the point where people would actually be glad to accept a military government just for stability.
That's a more subtle economic kind of warfare.
Exactly. A long-game strategy focused on finance.
Did the source mention specific tools for this?
It does. It highlights trade agreements.
Trade agreements. Like NAFTA or TPP.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
The source claims these aren't just about trade, but are actually transfers of power
Transfers of power to whom?
to the banking cartel and the big transnational corporations.
How would that work?
It specifically points to the dispute settlement mechanism often found in these agreements.
Ah, the ISDS clauses.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Where foreign companies can sue governments like a Canadian province or a U.S. state
Right.
for lost profits or even potential lost profits if government policies affect their business.
And the source says this gives corporations.
More rights than citizens. That's the quote.
And why all the alleged secrecy around this plan?
Well, the source puts it pretty bluntly. If too many people knew, they might not be able to get away with it.
Makes sense if the claims are true, and it addresses why we don't hear about this in mainstream news.
It does. It references someone named Daniel's most recent book,
Okay.
which it claims shows that every major news outlet in the English-speaking world is controlled by a Bilderberger.
So complete media control alleged as well. That's quite a theory of power the source lays out.
It's definitely sprawling. And if those claims about hidden control are unsettling, the source shifts gears to something equally dramatic, which is the planet itself. It points to what it sees as a striking increase in extreme natural events.
Okay. Shifting from geopolitics to geophysics.
Exactly. It starts with reports of major flooding, particularly in South Texas,
Yeah, I think I saw some headlines about that.
described in the source as the worst flooding since Harvey, causing enormous sinkholes, hundreds of water rescues.
The serious stuff.
Enough for Governor Greg Abbott to declare a disaster.
The sinkholes detail is vivid, and it wasn't just Texas, right?
No, the source also highlights Montana. Significant flooding there, too.
What happened in Montana?
It mentions 140 campers being rescued, even talks about floating bears.
Floating bears? Wow.
And it describes the scene, calls it ominous, of a U.S. Army Chinook helicopter lifting middle school students out from a wilderness Bible school.
Like something from a movie.
Like something out of a disaster movie, is the exact phrase used.
And the source draws a contrast here.
It does. It points out these soaking floods in Texas and Montana happening while the American Southwest is dealing with tinder-dry conditions and an early wildfire season.
Wet in one place, dangerously dry in another.
That's the picture. And it mentions other spots, too, briefly.
Where else?
Chicago getting hammered with rain, flash floods, saturated ground, rivers running high,
Okay.
and then British Columbia battling wildfires. And it adds a specific note about swarming.
Swarming.
Yeah, earthquake swarming in the Cascadia subduction zone.
Oh, that's the big fault line off the Pacific Northwest. That's potentially huge.
Very significant, yeah. The source seems to be weaving these disparate events into a narrative of, escalating global instability.
And volcanoes, too. Is that part of this picture?
Absolutely, a constant theme in the source material. It lists constant volcanic eruptions.
Which ones?
Names Anak Krakatoa and Sinabung in Indonesia, Shimodak in Japan, Telika, Narragansett.
So a lot of activity.
Yeah, putting a significant amount of material in the air. It specifically mentions Shimodak erupting to 14,000 feet.
Oh, okay.
And the source connects this to the grand solar minimum theory, suggesting it could contribute to cooling.
Interesting connection. What about seismic activity beyond Cascadia?
Well, Hawaii gets a lot of focus. The Big Island.
Kilauea or Mauna Loa.
The source mentions ongoing activity, including a 5.4 magnitude eruption, correcting an earlier expectation of 5.3,
Okay.
and describes this as the 12th day in a row of similar magnitude quakes with almost daily eruptions.
12th day in a row, that's persistent.
Very. It emphasizes 645 quakes in 24 hours at one point,
Wow.
and says the activity is building up rapidly and even spreading towards Mauna Loa.
So the source is definitely implying a pattern of escalating unrest there.
Seems to be, yes.
And what about the wider ring of fire? That whole Pacific belt?
The source gives a quick rundown of recent activity there, too.
Okay.
It notes a lack right now in Japan, which is maybe unusual in itself, but then lists recent quakes. Vanuatu 6.1, Tonga 5.4, New Zealand with a 4.9 and 4.6.
Still active.
Argentina 5.7, Chile with two 4.7s. The source sums it up as pretty scary.
Yeah, that level of activity across the board is notable.
So we've gone from these huge macro level things, alleged global control, planetary shifts.
Right.
And then the source zooms right in to the micro level, looking at some equally concerning patterns in public health.
Okay, so unexplained illnesses, that kind of thing.
It starts with a pretty strange claim about white hats.
White hats, like the good guys in these narratives.
Often, yeah. Benevolent insiders, anti-cabal forces, that sort of idea.
And what's the claim?
That these white hats gave a heads up through a zombie warning issued in Florida.
A zombie warning. Serious.
That's what the source reports. It describes the warning mentioning zombie-sided and specifically warning about Terminus?
Terminus, like for The Walking Dead.
Precisely. The source draws that parallel explicitly, where Terminus seemed like a sanctuary but was actually a trap.
Okay, so what's the interpretation of this supposed warning? It's not literal zombies, presumably.
No. The source interprets it this way, that they, presumably the Cabal, are putting viruses and things in the chemtrails.
Chemtrails. That theory.
That are going to lead to different illnesses, and specifically ones that are going to affect the frontal lobe and cause zombie-like conditions.
Affecting the brain, causing behavioral changes.
That's the implication. And the source even connects this idea to reports of brain-eating amoebas found in Louisiana water.
So it's framing health incidents not as random, but potentially deliberate, linked to this bigger agenda.
That seems to be the connection the source is making, yes.
Okay. What other health incidents does it mention?
It details a specific case it calls a medical mystery in Florida at a place called Lake Placid 4-H camp.
What happened there?
33 children and 3 adults suddenly fell ill.
36 people. What kind of symptoms?
Ranged from fever to nausea, vomiting. One child apparently passed out.
That sounds serious.
Yeah, the source says the area was blocked off. There were 120 kids at the camp altogether.
And the source finds significance beyond just the illness.
It does. It delves into the numerology of those numbers.
Numerology, okay.
Yeah, it points out 33 connects it to Christ's age, the 33rd degree of Masonry.
Right.
Then 3 plus 3 equals 6, which the source links to divine imperfection, or even 666. And then 33 plus the 3 adults is 36, which reduces to 9 in numerology. 3 plus 6, it's 9. And 9 represents completion.
So the numbers themselves are seen as
ominous. That's the word the source uses. It adds this layer of symbolic interpretation.
Interesting. What else on the health front?
There is a discussion about the Keystone virus.
Keystone virus. Haven't heard of that one.
It's apparently a mosquito spread virus. And the source highlights the first reported human case in Florida.
First human case. Was it thought to only affect animals before?
Exactly. Previously thought to only transmit to animals. That was actually discovered like 50 years ago near Tampa.
Wow. So why is it emerging in humans now?
Yeah.
Or just being detected?
That's the question. The source focuses on the difficulty of diagnosis.
How so?
It describes the specific case. A 16-year-old boy attended band camp, got a fever, a bad rash.
Okay.
They tested him for everything, Zika, other usual suspects, but nothing came back positive.
So how was it diagnosed?
It took a year later for them to identify it as Keystone virus.
A whole year?
Yeah. Which leads the source to suspect that a lot of other people across the Southeast may have the virus but have not been diagnosed.
Because it's hard to test for.
Apparently. The virus itself has been found in mosquitoes, from Chesapeake Bay down to Florida and Texas.
So it's geographically widespread in mosquitoes.
Seems so. And the source notes there isn't a simple test currently, but biomedical companies are working on one.
Implying there could be a hidden burden of illness out there.
That's the suggestion, yes. A potential hidden epidemic because of these diagnostic challenges.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. A really varied and, yeah, often alarming set of claims from these sources.
Definitely. From that intricate web of alleged global power, the CFR, the Three Sisters, the Cabal,
Right, running things behind the scenes.
to this dramatic picture of escalating natural events, the floods, sinkholes, wildfires, the constant volcanic and seismic stuff on the Ring of Fire.
Hmm. A planet under stress.
And then zooming right down to these strange new health threats. The claims about chemtrails, the zombie warning, that 4-H camp illness, the Keystone virus finally showing up in humans.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. And what's really notable is how the source material itself connects these things.
Yeah, they don't seem presented as isolated incidents.
Not at all. The source weaves them into a larger, evolving story, often with this underlying feeling of urgency, like something bigger is unfolding.
It definitely encourages you, the listener, to see potential connections maybe where you wouldn't normally look.
Exactly. It prompts you to consider these threads together.
Which brings up a big question, right? How do we, as
Yeah.
people trying to stay informed, navigate sources that make such complex, sometimes really controversial claims?
That's the challenge.
What stands out most to you from everything we've unpacked today, and how do you even begin to sort through it all, trying to figure out what might be an isolated event versus a genuine pattern, especially when the source itself is pushing that pattern narrative?
It's tough. And maybe that leads to the final thought for you to chew on.
Okay.
Given those claims we started with about deep-seated control, about secrecy, about this alleged cabal,
Yeah.
how might that alleged control, or even just the desire for it, shape how we perceive and interpret these other things? These seemingly escalating natural disasters, these new health crises.
You mean, could the way information is presented, or even suppressed, be influenced by those power structures the source described?
That's the question the sources implicitly raise. What information might be missing from the picture we get? And what further questions does that make you ask?